Welcome, everybody. This is self-mastery training via Ageless Wisdom Teachings. Today is April 19th, 2026, and we begin lesson 16. Let's just take a moment very quickly and connect our energies. Take a deep breath. And as we blow it out, relax our physical bodies and kind of detach from anything that has been pressing throughout the day. And become present and open to this particular moment, receptive to the energies that we're calling in. And take another deep breath. Moving into our astral body. And as we release it, become calm and serene. Relaxed. Allowing our muscular system to completely relax. Our nervous system to completely relax. And seeing our emotional body as a pool of water, serene, quiet, still, reflecting the sun's light. And again, taking another deep breath. Moving into our mental body. Becoming poised and alert. And sensing the mental body of the group. Focusing our energy through the brow, out to the ajna center. And connecting through our awareness to the etheric body of the group. And of humanity at large. And taking a moment through the use of the breath to bring that physical, astral, and mental body up through the central channel of the body and moving it into the ajna center. Do this in a relaxed way with the breath. And the idea here is to stay within the ajna center and allow these energies to magnetize themselves. Like those lottery balls in that pneumatic system. when they're picking lottery numbers, magnetized into the ajna center. You never leave the ajna, you stay for this part of the meditation. And then again, taking your time, and when you feel anchored within the ajna, you have integrated what we call the threefold persona into the ajna center. Have a sense of connection to your soul. Often diagonally, above the head, above, in absolutely no particular direction, but there's a sense of a diagonal movement upward above the head, above the center of the head. And when you feel that connection, sound a silent Om. Move your awareness, your consciousness, first still within the ajna center, looking deep within, beyond the brow, into the center of your head. And there, imagine a bright golden sun in the center of the head, about 2 inches or so behind the eyes. Surrounded by a blue-white light. Bright golden sun, small bright golden sun. Surrounded by a blue-white light in the center of the head. Allow your awareness to move. Imagining a line of light connecting the ajna to what we call the cave in the center of the head. And we move into that center as a group. Aware of each other within the group field. We identify as the conscious soul incarnate. And in this place, we come together as one unit, one mind, one heart, one soul. And we become receptive to the deva of the lessons of the soul and its instrument. There's a consciousness, a deva, a Sanskrit word for angel, an energy behind this body of teachings that is called a new thought form presentation of the wisdom. We open ourselves, or become receptive rather, to this body of information, this body of wisdom, more so than information, and stay as a group in this receptive mode as I read lesson 16. And as you listen to this lesson, I ask that you again simply allow the energies to be absorbed. You're not trying to remember anything. This is not like school or university as we've been taught. You're simply allowing the energies and frequency of this lesson to cascade around you, within you. Your etheric body is absorbing. Your own inner consciousness is absorbing. It's not the mind, okay? You're absorbing as a sponge. Lesson 16. Difficulties and solutions to problems on the path. We will talk about confusion as the aspirant evolves into the disciple. Difficulties are leftovers from the past. Opposition from loved ones. Transmutation, love, and reorientation to soul rather than personality. The wisdom available from the past. The recognition of patterns and habits from the past. And integration with the past. We are now concerned with the personality consciousness who has become aware of the soul. He is endeavoring to live as a disciple and has realized the need for soul control of the threefold instrument. It goes without saying that they are rightly motivated and are dedicated to service. They are often perplexed, however, and frustrated in their honest desire to serve. They have realized the plan to a degree, and in attempting to serve that plan, meet with obstacles on every hand. The opposition of loved ones, circumstances that demand their time and attention, and often difficult and unruly personalities. This is only natural and a normal condition for all disciples at this stage of the path. Actually, they are still more aspirants than disciples, for they have not yet learned how to shoulder the cross and follow the Christ. Those of you who find yourselves in this state, stop feeling different and realize that it, too, is but a transient experience. It will pass to take its relative place in the whole. That passing can be more quickly achieved by an intelligent observation of the situation and applied wisdom. In the first place, the obstacles they recognize are all leftovers from the past and can be transcended. Not only can they be transcended, but they can be utilized as stepping stones upon the path to full soul consciousness. Remember, the path is found within meditation. Disciples become the path as they manifest it outwardly. Think on this. It is important. The opposition of loved ones to their desire for service is very common and is brought on always by the karma between the two and the disciples themselves. Individuals, particularly husbands, wives, children, close friends, what have you, who claim a close personality tie with disciples and who demand their attention, are right in their demand. This is the first thing disciples must face. Service does not mean the dropping of one responsibility for another, but rather the recognition of the present responsibility and the additional burden of more responsibility. Until the present burden is recognized, accepted, and met, true service is not possible. I would have you think on this, for all over the world today we find a deplorable condition present. Would-be disciples building great glamour anent service, leaving their rightful places and responsibilities to others, and going out into the world, so to speak, to serve. The answer in this case is to accept your present responsibility as earned karmic obligation. Transmute your resentments into divine love and allow it to sweep through the astral nature and into the environment. Apply the truth and the realized concepts of service to those who have claim upon your time and attention, working with as much love and zeal as you would if doing that which appears to you as the more desirable. At the same time, detach from those persons as a personality and think of them as souls with all humanity. Love them, but no more than any other. And out of that love, serve humanity through them. Remember that in serving the few, the many are served, for are not all interrelated and interdependent? When you have achieved an inner realization of the soul tie, rather than ties of the personality, and have achieved the ability to establish right relationship in your environment, all opposition will disappear naturally and without harm to any person. The situations that demand time and attention are the disciple's own making. Clear thinking, love, and application of truth will change them from obstacles to opportunities for service. The unruly personality is a result of the past. Many lifetimes of a misdirection of divine energy establishes habits difficult to break. Disciples should first discover their ray makeup. This they do by a meditation upon the intended expression of the rays and an intelligent observation of their own tendencies. They should observe the activities of the three vehicles and their effect upon the sphere of influence. What effect do their thoughts have upon themselves and others? Of what type are their thought patterns? And what ray do these seem to express? Is this expression a positive or negative one? carry this same observation to other aspects of the personality. The next step for disciples is discovery of that wisdom that has been carried over, but is apparently dormant. They must be extremely careful in this activity so as not to awaken that which is definitely undesirable, such as ancient habits which the race no longer has need of. They realize first that in past incarnations they, as soul, have achieved wisdom anent situations similar to those which they now meet. This is not the first time they have undergone certain experiences, but often these are repeated again and again out of habit. If they could but realize it, the answers to many of their problems lie in the consciousness of the soul. Very often, karma is relived over and over when it could be transcended through wisdom. Consider first the problems which have continually repeated in this incarnation, for they are most likely the repeaters of long standing. Stop reacting and take them into meditation, realizing that you're placing them in the light of the soul. Cease trying to formulate an answer with the concrete mind and utilize it as a receiving station for illumination. In this manner, you will recover much apparently lost, though only untapped, wisdom, and so become integrated with the past. This does not mean you will arrive at memory of the past, nor is that desired. It does mean that you will be expanding your awareness and so utilizing that part of the instrument in service. Thus, you will have made another step in progress and stepped up the efficiency of your instrument. As an assignment, please write what you consider as constituting your ray makeup and give your reason for that conclusion. That ends the reading of the lesson, and we will start at the very beginning. Please note, again, there are no assignments in my courses, but it is preparing you for the ability to begin, really, to start thinking about what your rays may be, okay? We have not done enough, obviously, work on that facet of the wisdom yet. That is upcoming if and when we do nature of the soul, okay? Which may very well be a strong possibility. As we are nearing the closing of lessons of rather the soul and its instrument, which I've loved, this body of work. Our next venture will be another 18 lessons called The Path of Initiation. It was it was the first book of this particular author and her contact, known as Master Rakotsi. So I think it's important to do that one first. That gives you the width and breadth of the foundational information, wisdom. I don't like to call it information because it's not. The foundational wisdom of these teachings. And then the languaging will be familiar to you. The concepts, you will have the foundation to be able to kind of begin to scale the ladder into the new information. It will not be foreign. I did Nature of the Soul without any foundation whatsoever. It was my first exploration into Lucille Cederkranz's work. And but I had a really strong spiritual foundation for umpteen forever years. So it was like it was an easy transition, and I must say though that having now gone through creative thinking, soul and its instrument, and path of initiation, that is with that bedding, that foundation, that ground beneath our feet, nature of the soul will be a fantastic exploration. And for nature of the soul to happen, I am going to need, well, how do I say this properly? I think nature of the soul, and I must say, every aspect of Lucille Cedar-Kranz's work is work on soul levels, working to be on soul levels. One, soul levels means automatically that it is a group. We're dealing with a group, okay? It's not an individual exploration. One can try to read Nature of the Soul on their own, I guarantee you. You will only get but so far, okay? The magic of Nature of the Soul happens when it's a group of people. For some reason well, that's the way soul works. Soul works group. Soul is we, not I. Okay? So for this course to be given, I think we should have at least I would say 10 to 15 people. And then the magic of nature of the soul will happen, because we learn from each other and we learn through each other, and we pick up the vibrations. How do you say it? We pick up the mental and emotional frequency of each other as a result, and that automatically creates another level of magic. Now, in this particular lesson, we are dealing with, again, we've just come off of dealing with the causal body. We're dealing with looking at the past, as it says here, difficulties and solutions to problems on the path. Very interesting that this should come up. And the facet of the difficulties and solutions that can come up for the disciple, or for one who is working to be a disciple. And what is a disciple? Disciple, the Latin word for disciple, has its core meaning is work. One who is working toward something, or one who is working with the awareness that they are working in a group fashion for the divine plan, for the group humanity, bridgers between humanity and the hierarchy. Okay? It's that awareness of who we are, what we're doing. So it's one who works for the purpose of the evolution of the planet, in essence. Okay? So, which means that level of that person who, there's a soul's call there. Okay? There is a fire in their being. There is a sense of greater purpose and an awareness of a mission, a reason and purpose for them being here that goes beyond a mundane focus. Okay? So that is a disciple. We are now concerned with the personality consciousness who has become aware of the soul. is endeavoring to live as a disciple, and has realized the need for soul control of the threefold instrument. The threefold instrument being our mental, astral, physical being. That's the threefold instrument. Okay? I would include the physical, etheric, okay, as really one. Our emotional body, our mental body. That's the threefold instrument. And we're seeking, the whole purpose of these studies is, there are many purposes of these studies, but one of them is to integrate that threefold instrument into a unit that is receptive and available for soul control. Receptive to and available for soul control. Okay, soul's control. That soul, as we said, is constantly looking outward, or it's doing its thing on its own plane, the Buddhic sphere, the Buddhic plane. It's doing its thing. It doesn't really pay attention to its vehicle at all until it might manifest early in a person's life as conscience. We said that before, remember? As conscience. But it only when the being or the person begins to realize, I'm here for a greater purpose. I want to know more. What am I here for? That's when all of a sudden, and they start to work in that, they start to meditate, they start to deal with disciplines, they start to increase their knowledge base. They start to discipline themselves. Then the soul begins to realize, aha, my being, that this, because the soul is the one that controls its vehicle. The soul is the one that originated the purpose of this incarnation. So it realizes that the consciousness in this body is awakening. And it can now maybe begin to create a lasting union in this lifetime, or maybe the next, or the next. From the soul standpoint, all of these lives, it's an eternity. Okay? So, we are now concerned with the personality consciousness who has become aware of the soul, is endeavoring to live as a disciple, and has realized the need for control, soul control of the threefold instrument. It goes without saying that they are rightly motivated and are directed to service. Yes, that's the nature. That's the nature of maturity as a disciple, or as one who is working to be a disciple. Okay? We have the seeker, we have the aspirant, we have the probationer, we have the disciple. There's another disciple level, and then we have the initiate. So, and there's no sense of, say that again?
I think you're thinking of the adept.
The adept, yeah, that's a very good word. Yes, exactly. The initiate and the adept, and I want to say advanced disciple, but that's not working disciple. A working disciple, that's the word. Okay. They're not. It's not about separation. It's just that the soul that's working through that person, as they go through various stages, begins to have a greater range of service. That's it. Okay? We're not talking about hierarchy here, the way we have known it in the past. That doesn't. Okay? It goes without saying that they're rightly motivated and are dedicated to service. They are often perplexed, however, and frustrated in their honest desire to serve. They've realized the plan to a degree, and in attempting to serve that plan, meet with obstacles on every hand. The opposition of loved ones, circumstances that demand their time and attention, and often difficult and unruly personalities. This is only natural and a normal condition for all disciples at this stage of the path. Actually, there are still more aspirants than disciples, for they have not yet learned how to shoulder the cross and follow the Christ. Those of you who find yourselves in this state, stop feeling different and realize that it too is but a transient experience. It will pass to take its relative place in the whole. That passing can be more quickly achieved by an intelligent observation of the situation and applied wisdom. So, it's setting the stage in these paragraphs for the awareness of the perplexity, the supposed difficulty that one who is on the path and earnestly dedicated to the path can run into. You have to remember, though, that when this was written, we were more in the aspect of the Piscean age than we are presently. Okay? Right now, we're closer to the Aquarian age. Okay? The era of the Piscean age, it was the energy of the sixth ray that was in control of that period of time. As we move into the Aquarian age, it's the energy of the seventh ray that is in control. The sixth ray was about devotion. Devotion to an ideal. Sometimes fanatical devotion. Oftentimes fanatical devotion. Look at the Inquisition. Look at all of the religious wars in that period of time. And look at what comes to the tail end of the Piscean age. At war again. Okay? For us to review and get right this time. Hopefully. So, in that process, back then, the monastic life was huge in the Piscean age. It came at a time when either you were religious, you were part of a monastery, or you lived in an abbey, or you were married and you were whatever kind of jobs earlier on. Now, I mean, later on, okay, priest. You can become a priest, you can become a rabbi, you can become a this or that. The leaving one's family, dropping a responsibilities to go off on your trek, your spiritual trek, was popular in the Piscean age. Okay? There were many, even in the latter stages of the Piscean age, okay, when Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the Indian gurus were very popular. Bhagwan Rajneesh, many would leave their homes and go. Okay, that was a popular thing. Now, what this text is telling us is that we can no longer do that. That is inappropriate, because what the seventh ray and the Aquarian age is teaching is that we bring spirit into matter. Whereas the Piscean age was you try to transcend matter to get to spirit. Totally different, right? Got it? Okay? So you do anything to get transcend. You'd flagellate yourself. You know, there was punishing, people were punishing themselves. They were walking on knees to get to temples and all kinds of things that people did back then. But now it's a totally different time. You know, we bring the seventh ray is about bringing spirit into matter, ceremonial order. Okay? Totally different time. And we take responsibility for everything that's in our life. We don't separate anything out. One thing is not better than another. Having a family is just as spiritual. As a matter of fact, having a family and taking care of that family is just, I mean, it's the height of spirituality. And at the same time, to be able to focus on your spiritual disciplines, making it all part of one. You know, before we would separate everything out. I have to go to work, and then I come home and I can be spiritual. Okay? This is not that. We're not in that time anymore. Our work, our family, our whole life is encased in our spirituality. It's not either or. It's all one. That's the true way, okay? In the first place, the obstacles they recognize are all leftovers from the past and can be transcended. Not only can they be transcended, but they can be utilized as stepping stones upon the path to full soul consciousness. Yes, because the aspect of acknowledging, loving, respecting, appreciating your family or whatever it is, responsibilities one has that you've taken on in this particular lifetime, there's something there for you to learn. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. Okay? So it's not about getting angry or pissed off or impatient or any of that. It is about bringing spirit into matter and calling spirit in and asking for the assistance that's necessary to be able to properly handle with poise and with dignity and with grace and with compassion and understanding whatever it is needed so that you can master this moment, okay? And at the same time bridge into your spiritual work. We don't think of life being, oh, it's I wish I could only have, I wish I didn't, I wish I never had this response. That's, if, if you're coming at something from that standpoint, I guarantee you, one is missing an opportunity and you're missing the true focus of the fact that every aspect of what it is we do in our life, choose to do in our life, is an important step on the path to true realization, true adeptship, true service. Serving a family is it's service. Yeah. Not only can they be transcended, but they can be utilized as stepping stones on the path to full soul consciousness. Remember, the path is found within meditation. Disciples become the path as they manifest it outwardly. Very key statement right there. Disciples become the path as they manifest it outwardly. Think on this. It is important. The opposition of loved ones to their desire for service is very common and is brought on always by the karma between the two and the disciples themselves. Very key. So we create our havoc, right? That's basically what it's saying. We create the resistance because in our minds there's something to resist. When and if one approaches their spirituality from the standpoint of, yes, I'm on the path. And while I'm on this path, I will teach my children, my household, anything that I can possibly impart so that they too can learn from me, or learn about spirituality. Okay, the little I know or as much as I know. Um, and in doing that, everyone rises at the same time. Everyone is lifted. No one feels left out. That's approaching the responsibility without resistance. The consciousness of resistance, the emotional aspect of resistance, is energetically felt, experienced, even though it may not be spoken. It's energetically picked up by everybody, right? Okay? And that in itself creates the karma. Individuals, particularly husbands, wives, children, close friends, what have you, who claim a close personality tie with disciples and who demand their attention are right in their demand. The opposition of loved ones to the desire. Yes, so it is the right. No one should feel as though, if anyone feels as though they do not have the right to interfere, or that even that living is causing an interference, let's put it that way, okay, that the wrong energy is being expelled, excreted by that so-called disciple. They're not handling it correctly, and it's a lesson that has to cycle around again and again until people learn what it is they're supposed to do. This is the first thing disciples must face. Service does not mean the dropping of one responsibility for another, but rather the recognition of the present responsibility and the additional burden of more responsibility. Until the present burden is recognized, accepted, and met, true service is not possible. Powerful. That's a very true statement. Our service is not built on selfishness. It's not built on I. In this work, one has to be able to step away from I-ness and to be able to live on a regular basis within the arena of we. From sun up to sundown. And I have to chuckle when I say that, because there's a part of me that, and I think it's part of my astrology, really, that enjoys the quiet of my home. I love it when I'm the only one here. I love it when I'm the only one here, because I can think, I can write when I need to write, I can check off these boxes that need to be checked off, or take time to read. whatever that needs to be read. So, and I designed my life. My soul designed this life that after a certain age, I would not really be responsible for children, so forth and so on. My life, I knew way ahead of time, was not going to include that. So, so there's a part of me that enjoys that, and it is definitely part of my astrology that I need quiet. I need to do that in order to nourish myself, in order to serve. Okay, in order to serve. Okay, so I will do sessions like this, and I can do several sessions like this, maybe two in a day, which I did today. And immediately afterward, I have to retreat. It's just my nature. I have to retreat in order to, I can't go on to do other things with a lot of other people. It's just, I have to withdraw into myself. It's an aspect of my Pisces North Node. So, so yeah, it's just an awareness when they talk about this. Service does not mean dropping one responsibility for another, but rather the recognition of the present responsibility and the additional burden of more responsibility. Until the present burden is recognized, accepted, and met, true service is not possible. I would have you think on this. For all over the world today, we find a deplorable condition present. Would-be disciples building a great glamour anent service, leaving their rightful places and responsibilities to others, and going out into the world to serve. Now, what is he talking about? Glamour. Does everybody understand that? Yeah? You guys got it? Good, good, good. Just in case Maya and Dawn do not, I'm going to talk about that for a moment. Glamour often are the stories we tell ourselves. It's how we puff ourselves up. Oh, I'm doing this for this. Or I'm doing this for this reason. Or it's the stories we tell ourselves based on glamours are illusion. Delusions, and the aspects of both of them. It's when we make things up on the mental plane, or delusion is astral plane, illusion is on the mental plane. Okay, it's the stories we tell ourselves that are not true on the mental plane. And then Maya is the combination of both of them. Okay, so, and we call them glamours. And these are aspects of things that are not true, that we have to let go of, detach ourselves from. Shine divine light upon, okay, in our quiet times. Be honest with ourselves about the truth of these illusions and delusions that we're fake, that we live in, okay? Be honest about it, and allow the light of the divine to reach in to these dark places within us and shining and directing that divine light onto those dark spaces. It can transmute and transform those energies into divine light, no longer to have to bother us. Okay? So illusion is distortion, that was the word I was looking for, on the mental plane. Delusion is distortion on the astral plane. Okay? And Maya is both of them together, believe it or not. Illusion or distortion of etheric substance, Maya. Illusion or distortion of etheric substance. Okay? Very important teachings. And we will go through that in greater detail in Nature of the Soul.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. The answer in this case is to accept your present responsibility as earned karmic obligation. Transmute your resentments into divine love and allow it to sweep through the astral nature into the environment. So at the end of this lesson, the meditation that we will be doing will be a form of a transmutation meditation, teaching you the basic form so that you can begin to, when you catch yourself in something, when you realize a truth, when there's a revelation brought to your awareness about something that you do that is not authentic, that is not true, that's not sincere, that's not pure, then you realize, you've caught something. You've gotten a really good snapshot. And you take a moment and you delve down deep into it. And feel the untruth of it. Recognize it. Swim in it for a moment. Okay? And decide whether or not this is really who you are. The very fact that you're seeing it and recognizing it is actually a turning point in your life for you to be able to say, I don't need this. This is a husk of something that doesn't belong within me any longer. This is something that's not real. I don't need this. Do I need this? And then you begin to understand why it was there in the first place. Okay? So it's not about censoring. It's not about criticizing. No. It is doing the inner work of examining and observing yourself and finding out what's real and what's not real. What's true and what's not true. And keeping what is real and beginning to redeem. The technique is teaching you how to redeem the energy of that which is not true. Because everything is energy, right? Everything is energy. So we don't want to chop off our arm because it's not true. It's a part of us. It's an energetic aspect of our being that we decided we needed at some point in time in our early part of our life. Okay? Thank it for what it did for us up until the time that we recognize we no longer need it. And be willing to do the inner work. The inner work, because we are working, dear group, to be agents of transmutation. Okay? The very fact that we have walked this path, the very fact that you are in this course and following it, means that you are made of the stuff and being directed as such. You are made of that stuff to be that angel of transmutation, that agent of transmutation, okay? Which is so needed on the planet at this time. That's why there's so many of us on this planet, light workers on the planet at this time. We're needed, but we have to sharpen our tools. We have to make sure that we are energetically as clean as we can possibly be, and as energetically aligned as we can possibly be, as energetically in tune with that higher frequency that we seek to be the tuning fork of, okay, so to speak, okay, to be able to sound that note without disparity, without discord. It can sound pure because we've done the inner work to sift out that which is no longer needed. And then we can stand as a true instrument of the divine and allow that light to flow through and emanate outwards and do what it needs to do. We can hear and know what it is we're supposed to go, who it is we're supposed to speak with or to, all of that. So yes, all of that is part and parcel of this work. So, redeeming substance, the redemption of substance is part of our responsibility as agents of transmutation. Agents of transmutation. What are we transmuting? We're transmuting energy that is not clean, is false, has been programmed by conditioning, all of that, has been educated with nonsense. Some, not everything is nonsense with education, but we've been sold a bill of goods in this lifetime, and most of us are awakening now to realize how much of what it is we've been taught has been false. Okay? So, redeeming substance means that we, oh boy, there's a lot in this teaching. So, we are responsible for redeeming substance. Our own substance. And if each one of us does that work, guess what? We become so proficient at it that then we can take on more responsibility and redeem substance of the collective or a wider group. Okay? We begin to become proficient at knowing looking at the shadow of our planet right now, looking at the shadow of our country, looking at the shadow, wherever it is, of humanity, and do the inner work also to redeem that substance. That is the responsibility of an agent of transmutation. Okay? Okay. The answer in this case is to accept your present responsibility as earned karmic obligation. Transmute your resentments into divine love and allow it to sweep through the astral nature and into the environment. Apply the truth and the realized concepts of service to those who have claim upon your time and attention, working with as much love and zeal as you would if doing that which appears to you as the more desirable. So the same energy you put into doing what you like is the same energy that you put into doing the work that needs to be done. How did he say that? Apply the truth and the realized concepts of service to those who have claim upon your time and attention. So that's really asking that you no longer have and hold resistance. And this is assuming, again, remember I told you this was written right in the middle, or let's say that's what, 50s, around 1950s, 45, somewhere around there. You know, right in the middle of when we understand that 50s era, right? Many of us were born in that 50s era. You know, it was a very strange period of time. You know, I remember looking at women who were in marriages. It was a big thing to be married and have children. Were in marriages and, you know, working and coming home and, you know, but I felt so much unhappiness. I felt a lot of unhappiness in my own mother, who wanted to be highly educated, extremely intelligent woman, excellent musician, and but she married a husband who wanted her to stay in the home. You know, didn't appreciate the fact that this woman was, she could have, you know, she was just excellent in anything she really touched. And he did not want the competition because he was a PhD. He did not want the competition of having a wife who had her master's degree. Okay? And easily probably could have gone on from there. Okay, so, you know, and even when I looked out beyond my family, I felt a lot of unhappiness. I felt so much sense of the have to do's, you know, the have to's, rather than the joy of doing and being and so forth and so on. Okay, the 50s were to me a kind of a odd time. It was like you couldn't really put your finger on it. It was somebody, one of the, I don't remember who did it. Someone did a movie on that period of time. I forget what it was called. Even the music was weird at that period of time. It was, everything about it was a little bit strange. You couldn't really pinpoint anything. It felt like nothing in the middle of something. You know, for lack, I can't put it any other way. It just felt like a nothing time, and yet it wasn't. Probably because it was a turning point, because right after that, the 60s came. Okay? And that's when, you know, the music, Dylan and the Beatles and, you know, the counterculture, you know, everyone was saying, no, we can't live like this. Come on, let's get real. You guys are living a lie, you know, and it was a totally different period of time. So, yeah. At the same time, detach from these persons as a personality and think of them as souls. That's what we're supposed to do with all humanity. So, imagine, you know, we think of, if you're married and have children, you think of your husband as your husband. He's my husband. I belong to him, so forth and so on. These are my children, and the children think of you as mom and dad. But meanwhile, you know, this child, one of the children, could probably be your elder energetically. Okay, they are so wise. They're not, I mean, they might be in a little body, but they are ancient souls, okay, with a lot of wisdom. So we get stuck in these names that we call each other, these roles that we play. And this particular statement here, at the same time, detach from these persons as a personality and think of them as souls with all humanity. Love them, but no more than any other. So it is only here on this particular plane that we get stuck in what these roles are. On soul levels, there is no distinction of child, wife, husband, mother, father, employer, employee. On that level, we are all souls. Okay? The sense of attachment ends. Okay? We are attached to the group, but that sense of emotional attachment ends. Okay? Then that young one who is so brilliant and, I mean, so old, older than you begin to see them, they can relate to you as a soul. If we relate to each other as souls as opposed to something that we own, that changes the texture and the vibration of the relationship. That's what this is saying. Love them, but no more than any other, and out of that love, serve humanity through them. So if we are able to look out and see that all of humanity, everybody around us is a soul, not mine or hers or his or theirs, but we're all souls. And the aspect of soul focus is unity, oneness. It is one soul within each of us. One soul. The oversoul of humanity is one soul. And it's the oversoul of humanity that is seeking to seat itself in humanity at this time. The awareness of our oneness. We've lived in differentiation for too long and allowed that to separate us. But when we realize that we are one unified soul, it changes the whole thing. And when we can look out at our family unit that we call mine and begin to work with them as souls, then, and you as a soul, them as a soul, all of us, how we teach them what we think we need to impart, how we impart it, and what we are able to open up and accept from them changes. There's no limitation, no sense of limitation. Respect, yes. Kindness, yes. Integrity, yes. But we look out at this little one and say, what does this soul need? What is this soul trying to say? What is this soul bringing from past lifetimes? What is this soul here for in this particular lifetime? We start to relate to everyone in a different way. There's the possibilities open up. Remember that in serving the few, the many are served, for are not all interrelated and interdependent? That's true. So in serving, in holding that awareness that we are souls within your environment, automatically that begins to radiate outward. It cascades outward because people pick the energy up. They may not know what it is they're picking up. They might not understand the where and width and why and all, but they can relate to the fact that this is an unconditional love and respect for me as a human being. They get it loud and clear. And then they take it and move it out. They walk with that energy. It begins to radiate from them, and then they start doing the same thing with someone else. It moves exponentially. When you have achieved an inner realization of the soul tie, rather than ties of the personality, and have achieved the ability to establish right relationship in your environment, all opposition will disappear naturally and without harm to any person. The situations that demand time and attention are the disciples' own making. Clear thinking, love, and application of truth will change them from obstacles to opportunities for service. It's really asking that we grow up, in truth, right? It's asking that we grow up and stop being petulant children, throwing tantrums about what it is we do not want to have to deal with right now. That's what it's really saying. And you have to, don't you just love the divine? Don't you just love the divine? Because the divine has this ability to embrace it all. The good, the bad, the harmless, the harmful, the worst, the best. I mean, it just embraces it all and holds it and allows us to work it out, figure out how long it's going to take us to get it, and it still holds space for us to grow. It's powerful. When you have achieved an inner realization, love them no more. Remember that in serving the few, right? Okay, I did that. Establish right relationship. Let me go back over this one. When you've achieved an inner realization of the soul tie, rather than ties of the personality, and have achieved the ability to establish right relationship in your environment, all opposition will disappear naturally and without harm to any person. Situations that demand time and attention are the disciples' own making. Clear thinking, love, and application of truth will change them from obstacles to opportunities for service. The unruly personality is a result of the past. Many lifetimes of a misdirection of divine energy establishes habits difficult to break. Disciples should first discover their ray makeup. This they do by a meditation upon the intended expression of the rays, an intelligent observation of their own tendencies, They should observe the activities of the three vehicles, mental, astral, physical, etheric, and their effect upon the sphere of influence. Now this, they're setting up for you to begin to observe. What are the tendencies? What are your tendencies? And it is not expected that anyone should know their rays at this point in time. I guarantee that's not what they're saying. Okay, but they are saying begin to kind of reorient yourself to take in this spectrum of information, so that you can at some point in time in the distant future begin to ascertain what your rays may be. Okay. I told you about the book by Michael Robbins on the rays, Tapestry of the Gods, Volume 1 and 2. A plethora of information. I mean, again, this man, he was an encyclopedia on the rays and astrology. And he left that behind for us to study. And there's a lot of his writings on his website, the Moria Foundation. That's it. The Moria Foundation, Morya, Moria Foundation. And they too are involved with the seven rays. Do their thoughts have upon themselves and others? Of what type are their thought patterns? And what ray do these seem to express? These are questions you begin to ask. Is this expression a positive or a negative one? Carry this same observation to the other aspects of the personality. The next step for disciples is the discovery of that wisdom that has been carried over, but is apparently dominant from past lifetimes. They must be extremely careful in this activity so as not to awaken that which is definitely undesirable, such as ancient habits which the race no longer has need of. And when they say race, obviously they mean human race, okay? And yes, in astrology, that would be considered your south node. Your north node is that which you are here to do in this lifetime. But many times, depending on the level of evolution of the particular person, there is a tendency many times to kind of the way of least resistance. Remember what they're used to, the habits that they're used to, rather than and kind of coast there in the past, rather than focus forward in the present. So, as it says, be extremely careful in this activity so as not to awaken that which is definitely undesirable, such as ancient habits which the race no longer has need of. They realize first that in past incarnations, they, as soul, have achieved wisdom. Anent is an ancient word which basically means about, situations similar to those which they now meet. This is not the first time they've undergone certain experiences, but often these are repeated again and again out of habit. If they could but realize it, the answers to many of their problems lie in the consciousness of the soul. Very often, karma is relived over and over when it could be transcended through wisdom. Consider first the problems which have continually repeated. Hold on a second. In this incarnation. Yeah, take a look at what are your patterns. What are your patterns? For they are most likely the repeaters of long standing. What is your pattern of weakness? What triggers you most often? We take a hard look. It doesn't have to be hard. It's only hard when we resist it, okay? If we realize that the purpose is to be agents of transmutation, pure and simple, and we cannot call ourselves disciples unless we're willing to do the work, okay? It takes a long time for some of us, because of our level of resistance to change, to be willing to relinquish and detach. And go through the level of metamorphosis that's needed to be able to stand strong in new ground. Okay? And it's our responsibility as vehicles of the soul to master our matter. We are responsible for mastering this matter that we came into this planet with or in, so that we can leave it at a higher state, at a higher frequency than it was when we came in. It would be a shame and a waste to come in and leave at the same rate of frequency. Okay? That's our responsibility if we acknowledge and accept that we are on the path of initiation, as we all are. Some of us just haven't awakened to it yet. But for those of us who are, the minute we begin to realize it, then levels of greater responsibility become our thing. We take on responsibility of cleaning this thing up, understanding it, realizing, changing. I don't like that word, perfecting, but shifting its frequency to something higher than it was than we came in. Okay? Consider the first problems which have continually repeated in this incarnation, for they are most likely the repeaters of long standing. Stop reacting and take them into meditation, realizing that you are placing them in the light of the soul. Cease trying to formulate an answer with the concrete mind and utilize it as a receiving station for illumination. In this manner, you will recover much apparently lost. But it's really not lost, it's just untapped. Wisdom, apparently lost wisdom, and so become integrated with the past. This does not mean you will arrive at memory of the past, nor is that desired. It does mean that you will be expanding your awareness and so utilizing that part of the instrument in service. Thus, you will have made another step in progress and stepped up the efficiency of your instrument. So let's take a moment and go through this meditation. and we will have completed it on time. Yay. So taking up where we left off, place yourself back in the cave, in the group cave. You've already integrated the threefold persona, body, emotions, and mind, into a single unit in aspiration to the overshadowing soul. You did that already. And we moved from the ajna into the cave. So find yourself back in that space and identify yourself as the integrated spiritual soul. Now, as the soul in the cave, look outward through the forehead, between the two brows, and downward in frequency through the ajna to your persona. And identify a repeating pattern or problem in your life and affairs. Choose one that feels more pressing and realize that you will be able to repeat this meditation over and over again and bring in other aspects later on as you so choose. As the soul in the cave, take a moment to observe and contemplate whatever particular issue you chose or problem you chose. Just observe it. Contemplate that problem or issue or pattern or belief system. While you observe it, so one part of you is going to be focused on it, and the other part of you, I'm very aware of it, and the other part of you is going to align upward in frequency. And you're aligning with the overshadowing spiritual soul, your overshadowing spiritual soul. Simply through the direction of your thought. and invoke its light downward into that condition, pattern, problem. By audibly sounding the seed thought. So you'll say this aloud to yourselves. I invoke the light of the soul into this problem. To reveal, cleanse, and purify the underlying karmic pattern. And see the light of the spiritual soul moving downward into that condition, issue, or problem pattern. See a beam of light from the overshadowing spiritual soul. Audibly sound the Om. Radiate divine love to that karmic pattern. Radiate divine love to that karmic pattern. Take a deep breath, and as you release it, slowly withdraw from the cave back into the Ajna center. Relax the attention and return to normal focus. And you can go back and do this particular meditation over and over and over again, and watch to see what begins to happen with this particular pattern or condition or habit, whatever it was that was brought to mind. Watch to see how it begins to be altered as a result of this work. Okay? Okay. And with that, I say goodnight to everybody.